Guys, we got good news, bad news, and some weird but not too terribly surprising news when it comes to COVID-19 vaccinations. So Johnson & Johnson is hopping in with Pfizer, and they are looking super optimistic about the fact that they are going to be able to produce a vaccine as well, and going to be shipping out 1 billion doses over next year. And hopefully, they say here, looking ahead to 2022, hopefully we're done with something that was discovered in 2019 by the end of 2021. I guess I'll have to, move my time frame a little bit, but let's take a look at what they are up to. Some 8 months into the COVID-19 pandemic. I know, right? Doesn't it seem a million times longer than that? Much of the global focus still revolves around vaccine development, but now, as several candidates approach the finish line, the vaccine supply chain and manufacturing is set to become a focal point in global distribution efforts. This is definitely the good news, by the way. While some drug makers have been set back by the challenge of manufacturing enough doses to keep up with demand, New Jersey's Johnson & Johnson thought ahead. Leaning on its years of experience, the drug maker is well on its way to producing 1 billion doses of its COVID-19 vaccination in 2021 and is looking ahead to 2022. Paul Lefebvre, by a vowel fucker, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives and COVID-19 Vaccine Supply Chain at Johnson & Johnson's Janssen unit, Johnson & Johnson Janssen, in an interview. While no one would have predicted the scope of the COVID-19 pandemic, Johnson & Johnson had systems in place to grapple with the unprecedented event. The same crisis strategy, in fact, it leveraged in response to Hurricane Maria in 2017, Lefebvre said. So once they develop all of these, it's apparently supposed to have a pretty long shelf life when it comes to Johnson & Johnson's solution. It says here, that their shot is expected to remain stable for up to 2 years, which is good. So if there's another flare up out there, you can, put it in your fucking No More Tears shampoo. That at that temperature, about 4 degrees Fahrenheit, for you guys who can't do basic math. Once it goes out to distributors and customers, it can be kept stable at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius for up to 3 months. Not much colder than your average refrigerator, which is nice. So you can take your vaccination once, and then you can just, if you have any leftovers, you can just keep it right next to the tartar sauce in the back. But not too close to the baking soda, because then everything, I guess, in your fridge there will get vaccinated. Not terribly bad thing. To that end, Johnson & Johnson has pledged 500 million doses to low-income markets starting in mid-2021. After all the rich people get it first, and then, whatever's at the bottom of the barrel will, hand out. The drug maker is also engaged with COVAX, the World Health Organization's equitable vaccine distribution scheme, plus Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance and Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Initiatives, Lefebvre said. So you know what? Any news is good news when it comes to the fact that a vaccine from multiple locations is finally being developed. It's going to be out there for mass consumption if you are so inclined to take the vaccination. And with Pfizer, it doesn't have anything about the specifics here of the Johnson & Johnson one, but like I was saying about the Pfizer vaccination, well, that has a 90% efficacy rate, which means 9 out of 10 people who take it, and doctors agree, that you will be inoculated from COVID-19. Terrific. I didn't know this before, but the regular flu shot, which is something that I haven't taken before because I kind of find it rather useless, that only has about a 2/3 efficacy rate. So the fact that they are through phase 3 and we're getting a 90% efficacy rate is terrific. And if Johnson & Johnson's numbers come out and that's terrific as well, hey, we are definitely not going to have to suffer through a Joe Biden very dark winter ahead. But here's the weird and not that unpredictable sort of news. Biden informed of Pfizer's vaccine news before government health officials. Well, color me shocked. Former Vice President Joe Biden was informed of Pfizer's successful coronavirus news before the nation's incumbent Chief Healthcare Administrator, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Alex Azar. I, as Secretary of Health and Human Services, learned about this from media reports on Monday morning, Azar said Wednesday during an interview with the Washington, D.C. radio station WMAL. If the Biden campaign found out Sunday night, but you didn't find out until Monday, that sounds like there's a problem there, WMAL's host Vincent Coglianesi said during his interview with Azar. There's certainly a gap in communication, let's say. So when we went over this stuff with Pfizer, they're saying that they didn't get any money from Operation Warp Speed, that is. Yeah, I found that to be false. They're also huge backers of the Democratic Party, which, unlike Dominion, actually has several $1 million invested directly into the Democratic machine, as well as $11 million in lobbying. So yeah, that's a little bit more substantial. And if they're leaking secrets to a potential, because this isn't done yet, folks, a potential incoming administration, that is some really shady shit. And here is what I would consider the bad news. Take it as you will, though. Pfizer CEO cashed out $5.6 million of stock after trumpeting its COVID-19 vaccine. That's 30% of his total compensation last year. And also, the headline doesn't tell you that that is 60% of his entire stock. So, yeah. Oh, but it does say it here. Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla. Yeah, that's the third time in a row. I will stop doing that. Raked in more than 3 times his base salary when he sold about 60% of his stock on Monday, shortly after trumpeting the stellar performance of his company's COVID-19 vaccine and late-stage trial. The executive sold $5.6 million worth of shares due to personal financial planning and a part of a predetermined plan that he authorized in August, which is kind of the linchpin of this entire story. Now, originally, it kind of seemed like, okay, this guy just dumped off 60% of his personal stock in the company, which, for the fact that he only got $5.6 million out of 60% of the stock that he has, means that this dude is not all that fucking there. Because it seems like he's getting drastically underpaid, or Pfizer stock just really ain't worth shit. And even after, Pfizer stock went through the fucking roof, it got up to $40. I'm not too sure what it is now. Yeah, it was somewhere between $40 and $50. And the fact that you can only turn $5.6 million in profit, that seems a little bit goofy. And especially when you compare and contrast that to the fact that it equates to 30% of his total compensation of $18.2 million last year. You know what? I understand that founders of a company normally get paid a lot more than chief executive officers, but I think Albert Bourla is substantially underpaid. Or, I don't know, maybe he's just a figurehead, but let's take a look. Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla sold shares worth more than triple his base salary on Monday. So their market insider subsidiary of Business Insiders try to spin this as a good thing. I will tell you that it seems at least a little bit suspect, a little bit underpaid, and a little bit off, in my opinion. Hours after proclaiming the excellent results of the pharmaceutical company's COVID-19 vaccine in a late-stage trial made it a great day for science and humanity and one giant leap for mankind. Bourla described the results of the press release as a critical milestone in the race to develop a vaccine and a significant step towards ending the coronavirus pandemic. Pfizer's stock price jumped as much as 15% on the news. For those who are unfamiliar with the stock market, that is a significant jump. 15% of anything is really, it doesn't seem like that much, but when you're talking stocks, 15% is a huge jump. Everybody agrees. So the Pfizer chief cashed out more than 60% of his stock on the same day, raking in $5.6 million, about 30% of his total compensation from 2019. The sales were part of a personal financing planning and a predetermined 105B-1, I won't even pretend to know what the fuck that is, that he authorized in August, meaning that we allowed under Securities and Exchange Commission rules, Pfizer told Reuters. Now, the fact that this was already determined by a financial plan that he had to sell on November 10th is, a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card. Now, did he know that they were going to be announcing it that day? Well, clearly the Biden administration knew that they were going to be announcing it that day, so Pfizer definitely had the results prior to that Monday morning announcement. I think we could all kind of figure that, but that kind of crystallizes that. Now, I'm sure there was probably a way that he could probably, if these, result numbers were good, because, you announced the fact that, you have the miracle drug for the world's all-encompassing news story. You've got to expect your shares to eventually just fucking skyrocket through the roof. So unless there was some kind of ironclad contract, this really gets you thinking about, what does this guy know I don't want to accuse anybody of insider trading because those are serious allegations, but really, you got to think about it. He's the CEO. He sold off a majority of his stocks at a relatively, low level. So are these numbers fudged? Are these numbers not as good as they are proclaiming them to be? The fact that Johnson & Johnson just came out and said that, they're planning on having 1 billion doses of their vaccine by the end of 2021. I don't know, man. Things aren't really lining up. We don't have a lot of information on that. Pfizer just went through phase 3. Johnson & Johnson, last that I seen, phase 2 has been successful. So we should be getting their numbers here relatively shortly as well. So I don't know. I think that we are, in fact, rolling through this and we're going to get to the end of it. But comparisons with the fact that they're leaking information out to the potential incoming administration, this share sell-off, and Johnson & Johnson nipping at their heels, something doesn't seem right to me. And this definitely raises a red flag, and not a insignificant one. I think 2020's proven that it can definitely produce very weird and very obscure situations, and I don't think that this is a done deal yet with this story. So if there's any developments that come across this, I will definitely keep you guys informed. But I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. But Consuelo, I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.